In this video, I want to explore a little bit of the biblical basis for mission. It will be no more than a skating over the surface of the subject, but will, I hope, give some understanding of why it is that we are engaged in mission, in telling others the good news of Jesus. You'll find some more information in the notes and a brief bibliography there also, which will give some ideas of further reading. Chris Wright said, "Mission is what the Bible is all about." We could as meaningfully talk of the missional basis of the Bible as of the biblical basis of mission. In other words, we don't go to one specific verse, such as the Great Commission at the end of Matthew, or even two, in order to proof text the need for mission. Mission is something which fills the Bible and fills its message from Genesis to Revelation. The word itself may not occur in the way that we often use it, but that doesn't mean there isn't an important biblical principle at the heart of what we do. The foundation for mission rests firmly on who God is, and especially in the reality and truth that there is only one God. As John Stott put it, monotheism lies at the basis of mission. If there is only one God, and if this God is the creator of all things and the ruler of the cosmos, then that message really does have to be brought to the people who inhabit the world that he created. All mission begins and ends with God himself. It begins there because all things begin with God. It ends there because mission has a purpose. It has a goal. Mission is not a goal in and of itself. As John Piper put it, mission is not the ultimate goal of the church. Worship is. Mission exists because worship doesn't. Worship is ultimate, not mission, because God is ultimate, not man. Just notice how he brings the truth of monotheism together with the importance of mission as a means to worship. So mission has as its end and goal what is and always has been the goal of this cosmos from the very beginning, and that is the universal worship of God. So that we will see in that great vision in Revelation a great multitude that no one could count from every nation, tribe, people and language standing before the throne and before the Lamb. There is only one God. Only he is worthy of worship. And so we must take that message out there. So if our foundation is God himself, then part of the supporting structure is creation. Why does anything exist at all? Now, I happen to think that is a great question. I think the answer is that creation exists so that God can be glorified. And glorified means at least partially what we saw in the worship referred to a minute ago. The creation of humanity was God's way of providing this earth with vice-regents to bring God's rule to his creation, those who would be kings in his stead. And also to provide creation with gardeners, those who would tend the creation and tend the place of God's presence, the role of priests. That's why we're here. To bring God's reign and presence to this world. So that, and here we link back with our thoughts about worship once again, so that the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So the description of the creation of humanity takes place within the description of the creation of a cosmic temple, the dwelling place of God. And right from the very beginning, the task of humanity was to be missionaries, to bring the knowledge of God throughout the world. Now we know that we messed it up. The man and the woman rebel in the garden in Eden. But the role of bringing God's rule is not removed from them. It is made more difficult, but it still remains. And the first few chapters of Genesis show how this works out in many ways, and the story of the Tower of Babel is perhaps as clear a place as any to see this. See, part of the problem there is that humanity is gathering together instead of following God's command and spreading out. God reinforces this earlier command to bring his rule to the world by scattering the people, and then by confusing their languages. So once again, just as in Genesis 3, the command is not rescinded, it is merely made more difficult to fulfill. So right from the beginning, God calls humanity to be his messengers of divine rule. That is why we are created. The story takes a new turn with the call of Abram. God chooses Abram from among all the people to go, to be a blessing, and to obey. Abram was to bring the reality of who God is to the world so that the world might be blessed. And this mission, to bring blessing to the whole world, that mission of Israel, is a theme which is taken up by Isaiah. Isaiah sees very clearly that the role that Israel had been called to was bringing the rule of God to the world that God had created. We can see this perhaps as clearly as anywhere in Isaiah 43. There we see that Israel's mission is God-appointed, it is God-centred, and it is to the nations. You can hear the echoes with Genesis 1 and 2 and with Genesis 12 all over again. And that then leads us on, of course, to the one who fulfills the calling of the servant of Yahweh that Isaiah is referring to, and one who fulfills that calling in a way that Israel was never able to do. Jesus is that ultimate servant of Yahweh, the one who is able to fulfill that calling. And I think it's important that Jesus uses another passage from Isaiah in the synagogue in Nazareth to show that he stands in this tradition, if you like, in this missiological strand. Jesus' mission continues and extends the mission of Israel. It isn't about replacing it. And that leads us back to God himself and another biblical truth about mission which is important. Mission is, and always has to be, Trinitarian. Our understanding of mission, based as it is very much in a post-Golgotha context, is, and rightly so, concentrated on the person of Jesus. But we need to be aware, and always be aware, that the whole of the Godhead is involved in mission, and in the mission that we are part of. The Father is the one who is the instigator of all mission. It is his work before it is our work. He is, if you like, the prime mover of mission. We saw this in Genesis, in the creation. Mission is based in God's creation and his love for it. John 3:16 puts it like this, doesn't it? God loved the world so much that he sent. That is missiological language. Then, of course, we come to God the Son and to Jesus. As alluded to in John 3, Jesus is the messenger. He is the one who has been sent by the Father. Then Jesus becomes the sender. He sends his followers. And this sending of his followers is likened in the New Testament to the sending of the Son by the Father. But I think there's more to it than this. You see, Jesus is not just the messenger. He's not just the one who has been sent. Jesus is the message itself. Mark makes this clear in his opening sentence to his gospel, where he says that the good news is Jesus. The good news is not salvation. The good news is Jesus. That is the message that we have to bring, or rather, he is the message that we have to bring. And Jesus must be at the heart of all that we do and we say. Jesus himself expressed this to his disciples at the beginning of Acts, when he says to them that you will be my witnesses. Witnesses of or to me, but also witnesses from me. And so our mission now continues Jesus' mission. Jesus' mission continued the mission of God throughout Scripture. But then we have to remind ourselves, and continually remind ourselves, that we can only be involved in mission. We can in fact only be involved in bringing the message of Jesus to this world through the power and the enabling of the Spirit of God, the third person of the Trinity. Even a cursory reading of the book of Acts makes it abundantly clear that nothing happens in mission unless the Spirit sets it going. And that brings us very much back to the beginning, if you like. The cosmic temple of Genesis 1 and 2 is mirrored in the tabernacle. Jesus is then shown in the Gospels to be the true temple. And now, in the letters, we learn that once the Spirit has come, God dwells in his temple now, which is the church. And it is here that we, as his people, work out the role of kings and the role of priests that Genesis introduced us to. And then the future, our eschatological hope, is that that temple will truly be the temple envisaged in Genesis 1 and 2. The new heavens and the new earth will become the cosmic temple of God. No building will be necessary because the whole cosmos will be full of God's glory. Mission is what the Bible is all about. We are created by God, not just through birth, but also through new birth, to bring his kingdom rule to this, his world. So that even now, worship of the Lamb may be offered by peoples of all nations and all languages in anticipation of the vision of Revelation. That is our hope. It is also our reality.